Greetings everyone, I am the Fallen Shogun. This is another update. And a big one. Mentally. Because 12 hours from now, I will have buried my father. For you, this video will be released as I am there. For me, I have to sleep. And then keep a straight face while a small group of friends and family, the last remaining family, and what's left of my friends because of the lockdown, come together and say goodbye to my father. This will be the last video I make updates for quite a while, I think. Because like I said a couple of days ago, I'm breaking emotionally. I'd like to talk to you about my dad. Because I realised the only person I'd usually talk to about this stuff is my dad. Literally, we shared everything. There's only one secret I ever kept from him. And I regret, not telling him. But yeah. My dad, Phil, he had a tough life. He was the youngest of his brothers and sisters. 2 brothers, 1 sister. He spent a lot of his early years hanging out with friends. Obviously, he did a lot of work. He went straight into working as an engineer. Actually, went from job to job, then became an engineer. Then quit, then became an engineer again. He spent like 30 years with them. In fact, he only quit working as an engineer 2 years before his stroke. Because 2 to 3 years before he had his stroke, he had heart surgery twice. The first time was to fix his heart valve. The second time was to replace his heart valve. Now, I've looked at the dates, and this was 2 years before he had a stroke. There's a very high chance that the damaged heart valve gave him his stroke. Very high chance. But the problem is, if he hadn't have had the heart surgery, he would probably have died anyway. Maybe he would have lasted longer than he did. But as they say, I don't know what would have happened. But literally, we shared everything. And my dad, Phil, massive depression, had a very, very tough life. He married my mum, and when he was, like a 12-year age difference between them, and when he was 39, he had me. And then 6-7 months after my birth, he lost my mum to cancer. The only thing keeping him alive was me. If I hadn't been born a few months prior, he would have followed her straight away. He loved her more than life itself. For him, his life stopped. We never moved house. This was a starter house. He did briefly try dating here and there, like even when I can remember it, I think he did try occasionally, but he could never move on from my mum. Her stuff is everywhere, and her memory haunted him for his entire life. All he ever wanted to do was see her and go back to her. There was an Easter egg in my fridge, still now, which he bought her 2 months before she died. 2-3 months before she died, just there. So every single day he got milk for his coffee or anything for me, he was greeted by the Easter egg in the corner he got for her. Next to our phone, there is a wipe on, wipe off pad where he left an I love you message the day after she died. And in his bedroom, which I'm having serious trouble going in, it's one of her favourite shirts hanging up above the bed. He never let go. And he transferred all his energy into other people. He was a very depressed person, but he gave everything for others. He didn't like talking to people, but if socialising happened, he was almost literally the life of the group. He would make jokes, he would be happy, he would make people laugh. He loved making people laugh. He loved telling bad jokes. He absolutely loved telling bad jokes. 2 days before he died, the nurses were joking with him over and over again. Literally, that's how quickly it went bad. He literally went downhill over 12 hours. But yeah, even the nurse who was at him and did the time of death said to me, they were making jokes about seeing each other on the ward. He loved talking to people. He loved hanging out with friends. He loved socialising when he had to. He loved going to the pub, talking to people. When he had his heart checks after the surgeries, he the entire ward remembered him. He even got a Christmas card. A Christmas card from the heart ward, from the people who remembered him. But obviously that changed. When he had his stroke, he didn't want people to see he was weak. And he got very, very depressed, like majorly. And he gave up wanting to leave the house. I couldn't get him to take the taxi because he hated it. He didn't like not being in control. He didn't ever want to get into the car. He never wanted to go into the garden. He loved the garden. He loved gardening. He was always out there checking on things. He absolutely loved gardening. He stopped using his laptop. I know he only had one hand, but he stopped using his laptop. He used to check his emails, talk to people on it. He played Facebook games. He used to love playing Ebony, of all things, on it. But he gave up everything more and more and more as the depression took him. He was a very strong and stubborn man, and he fought forever. And the only thing which kept him going after the stroke is me. That was literally me. Because he kept saying, I'm sorry for doing this to you. When I was with my ex, he used to always say when I go to see her, buy yourself a meal on me. Whenever you go see her, wherever you go out, buy yourself a meal on me. He was offering to buy me holidays in the last 2 years. He even financed my car. He used to love getting little gifts. He loved doing little stupid gifts for people. And I remember, like, the last Christmas before he had his stroke, he had a go at me for not knowing about the little gifts. You don't really have the whole spirit thing, do you? Because you used to be, get little stupid joke gifts for each other. And I took that to heart. I got him lots of stupid little things over the years. Over the last 5, 6 years, 7. God, I don't know how long. But he loved the garden. He loved talking to people and making them laugh. Obviously, he didn't like starting the conversation, but he loved getting involved. He doted upon me to the point where, even when he had his stroke, he didn't want me to do anything to the house. I was his carer, primary carer. I gave him therapy. I cooked for him, although he stopped eating a lot. He stopped eating an awful lot. I gave him therapy. I gave him comfort. I gave him food. I did the shopping. I got the medicine in, and I kept the house running. For the other carers, he did have them. They cleaned him, clothed him, washed him, and got him from room to room. He didn't want me doing that because he never wanted me to be trapped. Even when he was at his worst and lowest point, he put me first. He put me first. Even the carers, some of them were terrible. Some of them, they only had that job because I think they couldn't get other jobs. But the carers who actually liked their job and talked to him, they enjoyed talking to him. They said he was one of the highlights of their day from all the other people. The last two I still need to contact. They used to joke that, best friend and, wife. That's what those two said. He used to joke, they even cooked him Christmas dinner. They cooked him a Christmas dinner for the Christmas a few months ago. because that's how much they cared about him. And he loved that stuff. He loved talking to them. He was an animal person. Weirdly enough, he loved animals, but didn't like owning them. For like the first few years of my life, we had 4 hamsters. And then when they passed away, we had a load of fish. And then 11 years ago, a random cat, my first one, Fluff, turned up. Literally just a little tiny fluffy thing turned up at the door. With a collar, started living here. And he doted upon that cat. Obviously he was a bit odd at the beginning, but he doted upon that cat. He would cook her sausages. He would cook her chicken. He would literally cook her food and like little bits of steak and chicken and sausages, but better food than I and he ate, because he wanted that cat to be loved, and she loved him unconditionally. When my dad had his stroke, that cat slept in his room for a week, waiting for him to come home. And when she realised he wasn't coming back, it took her 3 months for us to get her back into the house. She literally slept in the garden for 3 months during the rain and the snow. And I remember when she first finally started coming back, when he appeared, she loved seeing him again. But it broke her heart when he couldn't play with her on the floor. It broke her heart when he stopped opening the door for her. It broke her heart when he was eating and wouldn't give it to her. Because obviously she was outside the door looking into the living room, and he was sitting there saying, "Hi Fluff, hey Fluff, hi Fluff, I love you Fluff." And she would just give him this sad look like, "Why do you hate me? Why don't you open the door?" And it killed him. She started living with me a lot more than him after the last few years. Whenever I was out, she'd always sleep with him on the bed or in a chair. She absolutely hated people, but she got to the stage where she missed him so much, she would, not leave when the carers came, just because she wanted to spend more time with him. But she disappeared. As you don't know, Fluff disappeared for 6 months in 2020, then turned up for a few months, and I haven't seen her now for 5 months. I think she's at her other family, because obviously she just appeared. But I haven't seen Fluff for several months. She had like a sister or a niece who turned up last year or so, year and a half, called Shadow. Shadow was getting social. The week before my dad went to hospital, I'd finally picked her up for the first time and put her on my dad's lap. And his face lit up. He loved cats. But on the 24th of January, 5 days before he went to hospital, only 6 days before he went to hospital. No, it's 5 days. There was a heavy snow and a storm, and she disappeared, and we haven't seen her since. I'm glad I never told my dad that the cat probably died, because she used to go to my window and meow every day. I've had that door open for 2 months. She's never turned up. That cat is gone. It would have broken his heart, and I think probably would have killed him if he came back from hospital to lose both cats. So I'm glad, because he never used to like animals, but he did it, and his heart was so overflowing with love. He couldn't stop himself. He always fell in love with animals, even though he hated them. Even though he was allergic to the cats. That was the kind of man he is. That was the kind of man he was. Every time we went holidays, he used to always go to the arcade with me, because he knew I loved games. He was a massive gamer before. He had one of the old Mega Drives. He used to, before he had his stroke, he used to play Rise of Nations all the time. A couple of little shooter games. They even played a lot of Evany, which used to be called Sivany for those who don't know, the Facebook game. I've even found books, little notebooks full of details of who was attacking and where, although his account has been deleted because I've checked. He loved gaming. Obviously it passed on to me. Every time we went to the coast, we also played miniature golf or crazy golf, adventure golf, whatever you call it. Every single time. A little tiny golf. Every time we went to the coast. Because that was our thing. That's how we spent time together. Although Obviously, as I grew up, we had a lot more arguments, and obviously with the lockdown and him having a stroke, that caused us a lot of arguments. We argued a lot, we hated each other a lot, we disowned each other a few times, and I hope he knew I still loved him. It was just stress and fear. I always loved that bugger. But yeah, his heart was always big. He always had time for me, and he always would spend time with me. To the point where, like I said, he offered to buy half my car, he wanted me to have holidays, he just wanted me to be happy, even though he blamed himself 24/7 for my situation. He always blamed himself for me being stuck as his carer. And I can't say it's been the best few years of my life. Like, you go 20s and 30s, losing a lot of it, looking after someone is a big deal. But it allowed me to game. It allowed me to see my friends. Obviously, I can still go out. I can still do things. I could probably even take a small part-time job, but I know now if I'd done that, I'd have blamed myself for not being here more often. That's what life is. But I know that he had the greatest comfort for me being here at home. He obviously gave up trying to get better. I used to give him little simple exercises like tense his leg, and he would refuse. He gave up completely. He just wanted to be happy and comforted. So I tried to do my best, although we did argue. We argued a lot, and I can't take that back. But we always said I loved you. Sometimes it took a day or so, but we always said I loved you. And at the end, I made sure he knew I loved him. And even if you... I don't know where you are, Dad. I don't know if there is an afterlife. But I hope you know I loved you, and I hope you're okay with Mum. He was a simple man. A very simple man. He loved coffee and tea in the morning, either one. He always woke up with it. He stopped doing that after the stroke. He loved pink grapefruit. He had a squash of that every day. He loved orange juice. One of his little dirty little pleasures was McMuffins, a sausage egg McMuffin from McDonald's. Every now and then I used to get him those from, just stay up till like 5 in the morning and get him one. He loved an energy drink called Lucozade. He loved Lucozade Original. He loved his little Jaffa cakes. He loved his little cheesy biscuits. He loved those. Chocolates called Munchies. He was a very simple man. He just loved his little pleasures. Little chocolates like mini rolls. Sitting there, being happy with a cat. And every time my dad's mate Mark came around, because obviously you don't know who that is, and I also changed the name, I could always hear them talking. I could always hear them being happy, because he had someone to talk to. No matter what went on in his life, he enjoyed socialising. He loved hanging out with people. And that's the legacy I want to carry on. I have extreme anxiety and social awkwardness. And obviously it's gotten, I'd like to say, a lot worse since he passed away. But, I want to take his lessons to heart. Although because he coddled me, I have no mechanical experience. Like I say, he wouldn't let me go up ladders. But to Phil, my dad, I know I said it was your fault. You didn't tell me about the doctor and being ill a few hours before it all went, but you were acting normally, and we were still acting like things were okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry we fought. I'm sorry we argued. I'm sorry I didn't always get you your favourite things, like you wanted cheese and onion crisps to go with your cheese sandwich. I didn't always get them for you because you didn't always eat. I'm sorry you never got to eat all your food we bought in January, like your roast dinners and your pork pie. I'm sorry I kept letting you say, no, you'll eat tomorrow. I'm sorry I finally gave up on forcing you to eat and just got your sausage rolls. It's hard without you. Going past the food aisles in the shops, which I have to do so that I keep eating and drinking. But you are with Mum. You are at peace. For you, I would have already been to his funeral. For me, I'll see you in a few hours, Dad. I haven't seen his face since he died. And I still won't because of COVID. The last time I saw him was in the hospital. But yeah. I'll see you soon, Dad. I'll work on the garden because you loved it. I'll try and find the cat because you loved her. And I'll try and spoil myself in whatever you leave me because you loved me. Dad, I said this to him just before he passed. You're always in my heart. I love you. I loved you. And I will always love you. Goodbye, Dad. I just wanted to say it on the channel. And this will be my last update for a little while because obviously, you can tell, I'm not even at the funeral and I'm bad. Anyway, take care. I'll be okay and I'll reply to messages as and when. But please, guys, look after yourselves and tell someone that you love them just in case. Because I thought he was going to be okay. And then 5 hours later, I said goodbye. Take care. Be okay.